You give her everything, years of loyalty, a home, a child. You work long hours, pay every bill, stay faithful, because that's what a man does. Then one photo hits your phone. She's half naked, drunk, sitting on some guy's lap, and her three best friends, right there next to her, laughing. They called it a girls' trip, Clearwater Beach. But it wasn't a getaway. It was an ambush, planned, orchestrated, covered in lies. Now there's four of us, four husbands. And we're not just angry, we're done being quiet. If you've ever been blindsided like this, drop a comment, hit subscribe, and stick around. Because the war starts now. Saturday was simple the way men like it. Straight mower lines, sweat salty on my neck, the smell of cut grass and gas. Inside, my little girl slept hard, cheek on her stuffed bear, the house wrapped in that hush you don't dare break. Emily was sugar sweet, iced tea with extra lemon, hands on my shoulders. You're such a good man, Cam. It felt like perfume over smoke. On the fridge, a smiley face circled girls' trip, Clearwater, 3 days. You'll be fine without me, she said, all bright and careful, the way people get when they need you to stop looking. I rinsed my hands, watched brown water swirl down the sink, and told myself to knock it off. Men like me carry weight and keep walking. But the air had a buzz, like bad wiring behind drywall. I checked the locks, checked the thermostat, checked anything I could control, and still couldn't settle. Then my phone hit my leg like a hammer. Ding. From Jake. Check her story. I opened it. Music. Sun. Too many drinks. A shadow moved into frame that wasn't hers. My thumb hovered, then pressed. And the next clip changed everything. Her story looked like a brochure. Blue water, pink drinks, laughter turned up too loud. But the camera pulled wider than she meant. A man's shoulder slid in, then an arm, then the edge of a grin that didn't belong in my life. I sent a screenshot to Jake. He fired back the same scene from closer, same timestamp, different angle. Not alone. Before I could answer, another ping. He added Marcus and Travis. The chat lit up. Resort name, geotag, cabana number. Photos from other phones, later and later, like the sun setting on our marriages. Emily's smile looked pinned on, like tape over a crack. Marcus, ex-cop calm, lined up time and place. Travis dropped a bar tab with their names. Jake caught a reflection in a glass door, a phone filming from inside. We weren't guessing anymore. We were building a case. Then it hit the chat, a close-up from the beach at dusk. A stranger's hand low and sure on the small of Emily's back, my spot. My jaw locked so hard it hurt. I typed, "We talk tonight, all of us." Another ping landed before I sent it. Jake, there's a video. You ready? I set the phone down and walked to her room. Nightlight glow, soft breathing, one hand on the stuffed bear with the worn ear. That's the whole point right there. Not lawyers, not pride, not revenge. A child asleep, trusting her dad to keep the monsters outside the door. I sat on the edge of the bed and tried to remember who I said I'd be when I put that ring on. Family man, steady hands, a roof that doesn't leak when storms hit. My throat burned. I pictured that hand on Emily's back and felt heat shoot up my spine. I saw red and swallowed it. Rage is easy. Being a father is harder. I pressed my palm to the mattress, steadying myself, and promised out loud what no one else could hear. I won't let this break her. I won't let this turn me into something she fears. I went back to the kitchen, poured water I didn't want, stared out at the dark yard I'd mowed straight as a runway, and chose calm like a weapon. The phone buzzed again on the counter. Fine. If I can't swing, I'll track. If I can't shout, I'll prove. Send the video. The clip rolled. Beach at magic hour, sky bleeding orange, wind in the mic. Laughing that wasn't happy. A hashtag in the corner. Hashtag Clearwater Nights. I paused, grabbed the tag, pulled the location feed. Half the posts were gone, but the internet never really forgets. Cached versions, reshared stories, a tourist blog that scraped everything by accident, timestamps lined up like fence posts. 8:12 p.m., cocktails. 9:03, dancing in the sand. 10:47, walking toward a big rental with glass walls. I slowed one frame and saw it, a reflection in a sliding door, Not a tourist, not a stranger. A hand with a chipped nail holding the phone, right up in the middle of them. I dug deeper, matched shadows and earrings across shots like a man counting bullets. Another angle, too clean to be a guy across the beach. This was inside the circle. Someone hugged them with one arm and filmed with the other. And right when the story started going dark, the original posts vanished like they'd never happened. But the angles didn't lie. This wasn't some random bystander. It was one of theirs, a friend, maybe the closest one. My phone vibrated again. New upload, different house. Same voice laughing behind the camera. She came home with airport hair and that fake, soft smile. I set my phone on the counter between us like a loaded thing. "What is this?" I asked. She stared past me, opened a cabinet, closed it, said she was tired. Then the script. Too many drinks. The girls were pushing shots. She doesn't remember parts of the night. "I would never do that to you, Cam. I swear. I'll change. Please. For our daughter. Don't make this a big deal." Her hands shook, ring flashing under the kitchen light. She said it again. She doesn't remember. It was a blur. Everybody was drinking. It got out of hand. I watched her mouth move and saw the photos instead. Her smile pinned on, a stranger's hand planted low on her back where mine used to rest. She reached for me, and I stepped back. Breathing felt like lifting a truck. "We can fix it," she whispered, eyes wet, voice small. "Just don't tell anyone. For the kid." I felt the heat rise, then lock in my chest like a safe. I kept my voice flat. "You crossed the line. You don't come back from this." My phone buzzed. "Jake. Garage. 10 minutes." We shut the garage door and sealed the night out. 4 men, 4 phones face down on the workbench, 4 beers sweating rings into the wood. Nobody talked tough. We took turns. Jake's voice clipped like he was sawing through rope. Travis kept rubbing the back of his neck. I told them exactly what she'd said. "Too much booze, can't remember. Let's keep it quiet for the kid." Marcus listened with that ex-cop stillness, then started sorting chaos into stacks. We laid out the story, who saw what, when, where, no yelling, no shaking walls, just facts. We agreed to rules, no public scenes, no text wars, no tipping our hand. Outside this room, we're silent. In here, we build a paper trail, screenshots saved, timestamps aligned, receipts pulled, cloud backups done. I felt steadier each time a loose piece found a place. The beers went warm, our resolve got cold. No one wanted to be here, but here we were. Marcus finally looked up, eyes clear like winter glass. "You want a chance at truth in custody?" he said. "Then stop bleeding and start fighting smart." He tapped the bench once like a gavel. "Lawyer up, tonight." My phone lit the room. A number I didn't know. The unknown number was a family attorney Marcus trusted. I answered on the second ring. His office smelled like paper and coffee, the kind of place where people go to end old lives and start smaller ones. I laid out the facts one by one the way we practiced in the garage. He didn't flinch. "File for divorce," he said, calm as a metronome. "Document everything. Screenshots, timestamps, locations. Back them up twice." He mapped custody like a battlefield. Routines, school pickups, medical records, who bathes, who reads at night. "Don't curse her out. Don't post. Don't perform," he said. "Be boring. Judges like boring." I asked about telling my parents, her parents, the neighbors. He shook his head. "You keep the circle small. You speak once, clearly." My phone buzzed with another message I didn't open. He slid a legal pad across the desk. "This is ugly," he said, "but ugly doesn't win by screaming." I signed where he pointed, initials tight and careful. He leaned back, eyes on mine, and gave me the only line I needed to hear. "Control the narrative before they flip the script." I walked out lighter and heavier at the same time. And then the memories came. There was that work trip to Nashville that didn't sound like her. She packed heels she hadn't worn in years and came home with a hotel soap in her purse but no receipts. A month later, Laura started calling more. Little digs about how Emily deserved fun, how I was too routine, laughter that didn't include me. Then the late night she slipped in past midnight smelling like tequila and ocean spray, whispering "girls only" in a voice that tried to tiptoe past the truth. I told myself she was tired, that I was making something out of nothing. The phone turned face down more often. A new passcode showed up. Date nights got replaced with "You work too much, and I need space," followed by a weekend of love bombing that felt like a refund after a bad meal. I kept mowing straight lines, paying bills on time, being the man I promised to be. I mistook quiet for peace. I mistook busy for safe. I kept telling myself loyal men don't snoop, but loyal men aren't blind. Standing in my kitchen with the lawyer's card in my pocket, I could finally say it out loud, like a splinter coming free. My gut had been warning me for months. The next dump hit the chat like gravel in a blender. A photo first, bikini strap slipped, her top half fallen, that practiced laugh tilted toward a man who wasn't me. Then a short clip, the kind of kiss that erases names, her hands in his hair, his hands everywhere they had no right to be. Another angle, men drifting in, casual groping like they'd all agreed the rules didn't apply tonight. The camera pulled back to a glass-walled beach house, lights warm, music low, a path of wet footprints up the deck. A still shot followed with the time burned in the corner, 2:17 a.m. The door slid open, and a line of bodies crossed into someone else's life. I told myself maybe it wasn't her, maybe it was angles and hope playing tricks. Then the last clip loaded slow, mean. The lens caught her face clean as daylight, eyes bright, grin sharp, fingers hooked around a stranger's wrist. She wasn't lost. She was leading. She turned, glanced back with that pinned-on smile I used to mistake for joy, and pulled him over the threshold like she was clocking in. My mouth went dry. I didn't text the guys. I stared at the screen until it dimmed, then went to find my voice. She stood in the kitchen like the floor might crack. "We drank too much," she said, eyes shiny but dry. "They kept handing me shots. Laura said live a little. Somebody made these homemade cocktails." She swallowed. "I don't remember it all." I said nothing, just let the silence scrape. She filled it. "I remember a kiss. I remember the stairs. I was dizzy. People were laughing. The word stuck. I woke up and I didn't have anything on. I don't think they used protection. Cam, I swear I would never do this to you. I was pressured. I wasn't myself." Her ring clicked against the counter, a cheap little bell. She reached for my hand. I looked at the spot where that man's hand had rested on her back and felt something hard settle in my chest. The lawyer's voice came back to me. Be boring, be clear, control the story. I kept mine level. "You remember enough to make excuses," I said. She started to cry without tears, a sound more performance than pain. "Please, don't ruin us, for our daughter." I leaned in, not loud, not cruel, just final. Zero accountability. The room heard me, and so did she. After she went to the bedroom, I sat at the kitchen table and spread my life out like bills due on the 1st. My daughter's lunchbox, a permission slip, the spare house key with the pink tag. Futures hide in small things. I pictured custody drop-offs, my girl buckled in the back seat asking why dad's house and mom's house smell different. I pictured the guys at work, good men who shake hands firm, hearing the whispers and watching me for cracks. My folks would take it hard, hers would call me cruel. The neighbors would pretend not to stare over hedges. You think about love, but what you really think about is duty, what a man owes to his blood, his word, his name. I took a breath and felt the ring mark on my finger like a burn. This marriage is a cracked windshield. You can't unspider the glass. But the kid needs clear lanes, steady hands. I won't let scandal raise her. I won't let lies define me. I stood, slid my wallet into my pocket, and touched the door frame I'd painted last spring. I'm not begging. I'm not breaking. I'm taking my name back. And I wasn't the only one who needed to. The chat lit up again. Jake dropped a photo that could have been a twin of mine. Brittany, same beach, same dusk. A stranger's hand set low like it knew the map of her spine. Marcus followed with Vanessa in the exact pose, a mirror of sin, the same smirk, the same glass-walled house glowing behind them. Timestamps fell into place like teeth in a trap. 8:12, 9:03, 10:47, and the knife at 2:17 a.m. And the different phones, different angles, the same men drifting in and out like they had a schedule. We lined them side by side, and it read like a playbook. Laugh, drink, lure, disappear. The earrings matched across frames. The nail polish matched the hand holding the camera in mine. They weren't unlucky. They were aligned. Travis went quiet, staring too long at one frame the rest of us recognized. Lauren's bracelet flashing in the reflection as the door slid open. My chest went cold, the kind that sharpens thought. We'd each hoped our story was the exception. It wasn't. It was a pattern with names. This wasn't an accident. It was orchestrated. And once you see choreography, you start looking for the choreographer. Her name kept slipping into the edges. Laura Myers. Newly divorced, always the one pushing girls' nights, always the first to say, "You deserve fun." In every clip she was there and not there, laughing off camera, moving like smoke, never once topless, never once sloppy. In 3 different reflections you could see the same thing, a steady hand, dark polish chipped at the corner, phone up, framing the scene like she'd done this before. There was a picture of the rental booked in her account, the bar tab under her email, the ride share ordered from her phone at 2:41 a.m. The others looked like they were falling. She looked like she built the stairs. I scrolled through old texts Emily left open months back. Little sparks from Laura. "Life's short. He'll be fine. No one needs to know." I felt that familiar burn, the one you swallow when there's a kid asleep down the hall. Maybe the worst monsters aren't the ones who touch you. Maybe they're the ones who tell you it's okay. I sent Jake a single line. "Laura's orchestrating." The typing bubble appeared, vanished, came back. "Meet me, now." If there's a choreographer, there's a dance we haven't seen yet. And men like us don't sit out the next song. Jake and I met halfway in a quiet lot behind a hardware store. 2 trucks nose to nose, windows down, air heavy with cut pine. No speeches, just men who knew the shape of what had to come next. We shook once. He said what I needed to hear. No blind swinging, no drunk texting. We fight clean. I added the line that mattered. Kids first. Every move protects them. We agreed on lanes. Jake handled tech, pulling backups and scraping metadata. I built the timeline and documented home routines for custody. Marcus would be our anchor with law and procedure. Travis, limited access until we trusted his head. We promised we wouldn't ambush our wives at work, wouldn't leak to friends, wouldn't let anger steer the wheel. We'd carry the heat, not let it carry us. I thought about my daughter's lunchbox, his boy's Little League cap in his truck. That's the scoreboard. Not likes, not gossip. He stuck out his hand again, grip steady. No man left behind. We got each other's backs. I nodded. If one of us falls, the rest stand tighter. His phone buzzed. He looked down, jaw set. Marcus found something in the bookings. We both knew the drill. Then we move. We went to work like men fixing a leak. No noise, no panic, just steady hands. I dumped everything to cloud backups, twice. Screenshots of every story, every clip, every deleted post. Jake scraped metadata, time, GPS, device IDs, stamped in cold type. Marcus pulled location histories from shared albums and rideshare receipts. I matched each ping to each frame like stitching a torn shirt. 8:12 cocktails, 9:03 dancing, 10:47 walking toward that glass palace, a breadcrumb trail to 2:17 a.m. Travis found a bar tab we hadn't seen. Server's initials, table number, list of drinks that read like a dare. Another receipt popped from a delivery app. Signature cocktail pitcher, beach house drop-off. The address matched the rental. The cardholder name sat there, ugly and perfect. Laura, ordered from her phone, sent to their door. I stared until the line stopped swimming. Not an accident, not temptation in a vacuum. Supplies in, lights on, camera rolling. Jake said, "Save it all." Marcus said, "Chain of custody." I saved the PDF, the photo, the cache, the raw. The system in my head clicked into place, grief turning into habit. When you can't stop the storm, you label the clouds and stand your ground. That night, I set the proof aside and set the table for 2. Dinner was quiet enough to hear the fork touch the plate. Mac and cheese because it's what she'll eat without a fight. Her legs swung under the chair, sock half off, the bear from nap time now a dinner guest. She drew a family with crayons while I rinsed the pot. 3 stick people, a son, a house that looked like ours. "Where's Mom?" she asked, eyes round and plain as truth. My mouth went dry. "Work thing," I said, too quick. She kept coloring, blue sky hard on the paper. "Is she mad at you?" she asked. I shook my head and almost nodded. "No, baby, grown-up stuff." The words felt like gravel. She slid the drawing over for me to see. All three of us were holding hands. I put my thumb on the page and pressed until the paper dented. Heat climbed my throat. Nothing came out. I kissed the top of her head and tasted salt that wasn't hers. Bedtime was the book she likes, the lamp low, the promise I keep making. You're safe with me. I stood in the hall a long time, breathing the quiet I was trying to protect. This is killing me, for the sake of the kid. Marcus laid it out like a man who's cleared rooms and buried friends. Timeline first. Every post, every receipt, every ping stacked in order until the chaos had edges. Roles next. Jake would strip the files, pull clean metadata, lock chain of custody. I'd build the living record, who wakes the kid, who cooks, who handles homework, proof of stability no judge can ignore. Marcus would handle first contact and procedure. Travis. Limited access. Eyes on him until he proved he could stand straight. Then the approach to Laura. Calm voice, no threats, record everything. If she's the hub, pressure cracks spokes. We set the 48-hour rule. No impulsive moves, no midnight calls, sleep before action. Eat, hydrate, keep your head. This isn't bar fight justice. This is slow war. We practiced answers for parents, bosses, neighbors, one line, steady tone, nothing extra. Marcus watched us like a medic checking pulses. "You're angry," he said. "Good. Anger is fuel. We use it, it doesn't use us." He circled the date on a legal pad, ink heavy enough to bleed through. We move Friday night. Silence. 4 men breathing in the same small space, feeling the floor hard under our boots. My phone buzzed. Emily was home, waiting. I put the new photos on the table, no speeches. Her eyes hit the prints and cracked. The smile in those shots, pinned on, hungry, looked like someone else wearing her face. She folded, then tried to stand on the old script. Too many drinks, bad influences. I don't remember. When that didn't land, she reached for softer ground. I'm scared. I was pressured. I hate myself. Tears finally came, loud and messy. "Please," she said. "I can fix this. Don't do the divorce. For our daughter. We can erase it. We can be us again." I kept breathing, counting to 10 on the bones in my hand. I saw the stares in the video, the way her fingers wrapped his wrist, the way she led. I saw my little girl's drawing on the fridge, 3 stick figures holding hands, and felt something steal through my chest. "You're not the victim here," I said, calm as a hammer laid flat on wood. She flinched like the truth hit harder than any shout. "I'll tell people you're cruel," she hissed, desperate. I shook my head. "You tell them whatever you need. I'll show them what happened." Her phone lit up. One name on the screen. Laura. I woke up early and treated the day like a job. Called the bank, froze the joint card before breakfast. Opened a new account at lunch, set my paycheck to redirect. No gaps, no drama. Moved the auto pays for the mortgage and the lights so the house stays steady for my girl. Emailed the attorney each step, paper trails, confirmations, dates. He greenlit every move and reminded me, no taunts, no gotcha texts, no screenshots sent in anger. I kept my mouth shut and my hands busy. Collected titles, insurance, the binder with our tax returns, photographed the contents of the safe, wrote down the everyday things a judge cares about: bedtime, school drop-off, who cooks, who calls the pediatrician. When Emily texted, I answered in one sentence, clean and neutral. No bait taken. I packed a small go bag for my daughter, pajamas, toothbrush, a duplicate bear, because calm is preparation, not luck. The anger was still there, but it had a leash now. I looked at the stack of folders on the table, the neat lines of a life taking shape without her hand in it, and felt something settle. Clean break. On my terms. That night, the garage light clicked on for the war room shift. We cleared a workbench and pinned our lives to it. A printed map of the resort spread flat. Red string ran from the beach to the rental like veins under skin. Photos taped in order, timestamps written in thick black marker. 8:12, 9:03, 10:47, 2:17. Notes under each. Who's in frame, who's filming, which shadows match which earrings. Jake's laptop hummed, metadata scrolling like small truths in cold font. Marcus scribbled procedures on a yellow pad. Travis stared too long at a shot of the glass door, jaw working. No one raised a voice. Coffee steamed in paper cups, old country playing low from a tinny radio. We weren't guessing anymore. We were verifying, solid as bolts. The plan felt like a backbone. Friday approach, record everything, keep emotion in the trunk. I ran a finger along the red string, felt the pull from beach to bed like a current you can't see but drown in anyway. We locked it all into a folder and named it what it was. Proof. I thought of my kid asleep down the hall and tightened my grip on the cup. My phone buzzed on the bench, screen unknown. A link arrived, no words, just a new clip. I tapped the link. The camera was close enough to hear breath. Emily slid into frame with that man like they'd practiced, her arms looped around his neck, her mouth finding his without hesitation. She laughed, not sloppy, not lost, sharp, bright, sure. They stumbled and she bumped the hallway wall, hand splayed, steadying, then looked up at him like she meant every second. Her fingers trailed down his chest, caught his wrist, and she pulled, leading him toward a door. No one was pushing shots into her mouth. No one was dragging her anywhere. She reached past him, thumb on the latch, and the door gave. For a heartbeat, she glanced back at whoever held the phone and smirked. Not sorry, not confused. She tugged him inside. A light blinked on. Stairs appeared like a dare. They climbed, his hand on her hip, hers covering it, guiding. At the landing, she turned, kissed him again, then disappeared up the last few steps, feet quick, sure. The camera held the empty hall a second longer, as if to underline the point. This is what choice looks like. I let the screen go dark. The room felt small. In the garage, someone exhaled. Then I heard shouting outside. The shouting came from the driveway. Lauren's voice pitched high, cutting through the night. "Give me your phone." The door creaked. Travis stepped in, eyes on the concrete. "We're in the middle of something," Marcus said. Travis waved a hand, jittery. "I'm here." His phone buzzed. He killed the screen so fast he almost dropped it. Jake asked, "Everything okay?" Travis faked a laugh, the kind that dies before it leaves the mouth. Behind him, Lauren kept going. "What are you hiding?" We all went still. Travis tucked the phone in his back pocket, thumbed the lock like a habit. "Nothing," he said. "She's being dramatic." Then he did something small and loud at the same time, opened his messages, scrolled hard, and deleted 3 threads before any of us could blink. The room changed temperature. Marcus's eyes cut to mine. I felt it too. The wrong kind of quiet. "Don't do that," Jake said. "Chain of custody." Travis mumbled something about spam and updates and stepped toward the door. "I'll be right back." He wasn't. Marcus watched him cross the threshold, jaw tight, then turned to me, voice low, flat, final. "We got a problem." We met Laura at a corner coffee shop that smelled like burnt beans and sugar. She was already there, calm as a Sunday, phone face down, smile that never touched her eyes. "You boys don't understand women," she said, like a teacher correcting slow students. "You think it's about one bad night. It's about freedom." She talked circles, how marriages trap, how girls' trips are oxygen, how we should let them live. Then she flipped her phone and scrolled like a dealer fanning cards. Clips we hadn't seen, angles from inside the circle, timestamps stitched tight. "I've got everything," she said, "for all of them." I asked why she filmed. She tilted her head. "Protection," she said. "Accountability." Then the knife. "I can make all of you single, tonight." She didn't raise her voice. She didn't need to. The promise sat between us like a lit match. "You could drag this out for months," she went on, "or accept what's obvious and cut clean." She called it mercy. I heard malice with a glossary. Marcus stayed ice cold. Jake stared at the table so he wouldn't break it. I felt my ring mark ache. I stood. We're done here. She smiled wider, like we'd confirmed her theory. You'll see, she said. And for once I hoped we would, together. We gathered after dark, just the three of us, the fourth missing in ways that said too much. No big speeches, just the slow truth men offer when the room is safe. Jake talked about his boy asking why mom smells different. Marcus about sleeping in a chair so his temper stayed in the garage. I said the part I'd only said in prayers. I'm scared I'm not enough for my daughter alone. We let that sit. Then we drew the lines we'd live by. Men stick together. No leaks, no late-night rants, no feeding the rumor mill. Every decision runs through what's best for the kids, not what hurts the fastest. We admitted what hurt. We named what we could control. We promised to keep the heat leashed. They want chaos, Marcus said. We starve it. Jake nodded, jaw set. We make it boring for the judge and impossible for the liar. I looked at both of them and felt the floor steady under my boots. We're not breaking ranks, I said. Not for bait, not for threats, not for pride. Phones on the bench, hands in. 3 men who didn't ask to be brothers, choosing to be anyway. A buzz cut through the quiet, Travis finally calling back. It started with a vague post, black screen, white text. Pray for me. Some people love tearing families apart. Then the calls. She rang my mother first, voice thin, saying I'd changed, that I was cold, hinting I was controlling with money. The neighbors waved tighter than usual. Mrs. Patterson asked if I was okay, like she already knew the answer she wanted. Emily made her rounds. Coffee with a friend here, tearful porch talk there, little seeds. I work too much, I don't listen, I'm punishing her for one mistake. She never used the word cheating. She let others use it for her and then flinched, as if wounded by rumors she'd started. I could feel the story tilting, so I did what men do when yelling won't help. I gathered screenshots of her post, call logs, the receipts to the beach house, the clip at 2:17 a.m., the stairway video where she leads him by the wrist. Every time she tried a half-truth, I paired it with a full page. I kept my replies short, my tone level, my circle small. She wanted smoke. I stacked bricks. By the time she hinted I was emotionally abusive, I already had the counter ready. I hit send, to my lawyer, not the crowd. I drove to my parents' house with a folder that felt heavier than paper. Mom opened the door, eyes already wet, Dad standing behind her like a wall that had seen storms. "Why didn't you tell us sooner?" she asked. I said I was trying to be sure before I broke anything that couldn't be fixed. At the table, I laid out the proof in order, same as the workbench. Photos, timestamps, the receipt with Laura's name, the stairway clip last. No commentary, just the facts. Silence thickened until even the clock sounded rude. Mom pressed her lips together and stared at her hands. Dad looked at me, then at the images, then back at me like he was measuring whether I'd stay upright. "We raised you to keep your word," he said, quiet. "But a man can't hold up a house when the other beam's already rotten." Across town, her parents called, angry and hurt, wanting another version, another villain. I told them I'd sent the same folder to their email and kept my voice even. Dad slid the last photo back into the stack and rested his palm on it. "Take back your name, son." I nodded, throat tight, and finally felt permission to breathe. Paper first, feelings later. The attorney filed temporary orders before lunch. Status quo for the house, no sudden withdrawals, no surprise moves. A property hold so the big things stay put. A court date landed on the calendar like a nail in wood. We set a schedule for my daughter. Drop-offs, pickups, bedtime routines documented in plain language. Mediation notices went out. Rooms where strangers ask you to cut your life into fair pieces. I kept my replies measured. "Yes, sir. No, ma'am." The kind of boring a judge respects. Emily tried small fires. Texts about control, a voicemail with a tremble built in. But the process didn't flinch. A server handed her the packet on our front step. I watched from the window, hands in my pockets so I wouldn't reach for anything stupid. She flipped through the pages, face still until it wasn't. The pen scratched. Return receipt signed. Her eyes snapped up and caught mine through the glass. Bright, hard, like metal in sun. She tucked the papers under her arm and forced a smile that said she'd find another way to win. I locked the door, slid the duplicates into a folder, and breathed. This wasn't revenge. This was order. She'd signed. And she was furious. Sleep wouldn't come. Wouldn't. I walked the quiet house like a guard. Checked doors. Checked windows. Checked on my girl's slow breathing. The wedding photo sat on a shelf by the stairs, all light and borrowed promises. I held it, then folded it into the drawer with the warranties and spare keys. The safe clicked shut over passports and birth certificates. I laid out tomorrow's clothes like armor. The lawyer's packet rested on the counter. I traced the edge with my thumb until my hand went numb. In the half-dark, the yard looked like an empty field after harvest. Straight lines, nothing left to hide. I kissed my daughter's forehead and felt the heat of a life I refused to fail. Downstairs, the fridge hum was the only noise. I let the anger pass through and focused on breath in, breath out. The phone lit the room from the table, a cold square of light. Unknown number. One line. He's not with you. I stared until the words blurred. Not with me. Who? A husband? A friend? A traitor under our roof? The screen pulsed again. Same number. A second message typing, dots blinking like a heartbeat. I answered with 2 words. Who is it? Jake traced the anonymous text through the link it carried. Tiny tracker buried in the preview. The IP bounced, then settled on a familiar router name. Travis Garage. We all went quiet the way men do when the floor shifts. He pulled more threads, calendar pings from Travis's phone that mirrored ours, but with extra notes on times we never typed. A shared doc we'd only mentioned in the garage showed edits from an account tied to Lauren. I scrolled back through photos and saw it. Her smile, half in frame at the edge of a reflection, the same bracelet from the beach house catching light. Marcus laid the timeline beside a string of odd errands Travis had run. Quick trips around our meetups, sudden gas receipts at hours that didn't fit a working man's day. The shape formed whether we liked it or not. My chest went hollow. Brotherhood isn't a word, it's a weight, and he'd shrugged it off. Jake pinged the router again and logged the session. Files pulled, names copied, the exact hour our plan leaked. The chat lit. A new message from Lauren. Tell Cameron to breathe. We didn't need more proof. The mole wasn't in our house. He was at our bench. Travis had been feeding Lauren and Laura everything. We called him in, man to man. No yelling. Just 4 sets of eyes and the phone on the table, screen bright with the router logs. Travis tried a shrug that died halfway. Look, this is about my kid, he said. Lauren said she'd scorch me in court. Laura, she offered help. Money. I just sent small stuff. He wouldn't look at any of us long. I was scared. I panicked. You know how child support gets. I thought if I kept her calm. He stopped when Jake opened the doc with his edits, the timestamps stacked like nails. Small stuff? Jake asked. Our schedule, our plan, our evidence locations. Travis's face collapsed into pleading. Don't do this. I can fix it. I'll cut them off. Please. The room held steady, cold, and level. I thought of my daughter's drawing, the little hands touching. Betrayal has a sound. It's a door you thought was locked opening from the inside. Travis reached out, palm up, a man begging for a different past. Marcus didn't raise his voice, didn't move fast. He just tapped the phone, then the door. You're out, he said. From the chat, from the plan, from this room. Travis blinked, swallowed, and left. The door shut like a sentence. It hit every phone at once. The bedroom. Music too loud for the walls. Women laughing like they owned midnight. The camera didn't wobble. It hunted. The sheets, the shadows, the frame of a lamp I recognized from the rental listing. Then the angle shifted, and there she was. Emily, face clear as daylight, hair a mess that wasn't mine, doing things you can't take back. 10 seconds in, my mother texted, call me. At 15, her father rang twice. At 20, a neighbor sent a praying hands emoji I wanted to crush. At 30, Facebook lit with, thinking of a friend going through a lot. At 40, my boss asked if I needed time off. At 50, our family chat turned into a courtroom I didn't enter. 60 seconds, and the world knew enough to hurt me without knowing anything that could help. Jake typed, stay quiet. Marcus, chain of custody, no posts. I stared at the pause symbol and couldn't press it. Countdown to fallout, 3, 2, 1. Everything we feared went public. The clip ended on her smile, the one she used to save for me, now pointed at a stranger who didn't earn it. I walked out to the driveway and sat in the car until the air went thin. I folded behind the wheel and let the dark take the edges off. No music, no prayer. Just breath that wouldn't steady and a steering wheel that suddenly weighed a ton. I talked to the dash like it could judge me less than people do. I said I was tired of being the man who absorbs the hit and smiles anyway. I said I was scared of raising a girl through smoke and whispers. Then I saw her lunchbox in the passenger seat, and the fear burned clean. I dialed the attorney, voice raw. "We move faster," I said. "File the next set. Lock custody tight." He answered like a metronome. I took notes like a student who finally understands the class. When the call ended, I stared at my house, the light in my daughter's window, and rewrote my vows to nobody but her. Feed her, keep her safe, tell the truth once, then live it. I wiped my face with my sleeve and felt the weight shift from hurt to purpose. "I'm not a victim," I said to the empty car. "I'm a father." I started the engine, not to run, but to return, inside, to the lists, to the plan, to the fight I could win. I sat at the table and built the story the way a man frames a house. Straight lines, no skipped nails. First, a clean timeline. Posts, receipts, ride shares, the 2:17 a.m. clip. Then I laid the overlaps. Same men, same house, same hour. So anyone with eyes could see this wasn't one mistake, it was consensus. I flagged Laura's fingerprints on everything. The booking, the bar tab, the phone angles from inside the circle. Motive wasn't poetry, it was petty. Envy dressed up as freedom. I wrote it in plain words a judge could trust. I cook, I bathe, I read, I drive. The child's school, doctor, bedtime, all steady in my hands. No insults, no heat. Just facts and the dates that hold them. Jake tightened the metadata, Marcus checked the chain, and I added the part that mattered most. Why public drama harms a 5-year-old, and why quiet order keeps her whole. When it was done, the thing read like a ledger. Choices in one column, consequences in the other. I slid the folder across to my attorney, felt breath return to my ribs, and nodded once. He sent the legal packet to her counsel before noon. No hashtags, no crowds, just truth, delivered. And then the court date came due. Courthouse air is thin on purpose. I took the stand and told it straight. How we lived before, how it broke, what I do each day so my daughter wakes to the same song. Breakfast, backpack, pickup, bath, book, lights out. The exhibits stacked beside me like bricks. Photos, timestamps, the rental receipt with Laura's name, the stairway clip where Emily reaches first. Her side floated the old lines. Too many drinks, pressure, not herself. My attorney kept it clean. The laughter before the cocktails, the pull of her hand on his wrist, the steady legs up the stairs. The morning after that proves the night before. No adjectives, just frames and times. When they pushed victim, we answered with routine. Attendance sheets, pediatric notes, work schedules that never left our kid guessing. I didn't look at the gallery. I looked at the judge and spoke like a man asking to protect what he built. The questions slowed, the room cooled. Then the words I'd been holding my breath for. Temporary physical custody to Mr. Reed. Status quo for the child. Exchanges at the station. No disparagement. The gavel's small knock felt bigger than thunder. Outside, my phone buzzed with messages I didn't open. I called the school instead and confirmed pickup, same as always. The tide turned fast. The same women who laughed in her videos stopped answering Laura's calls. Group chats splintered. Screenshots leaked back to us from numbers we didn't recognize. Lauren went quiet, then flipped. Blocked Laura, yanked her posts, started working on her marriage, which meant working me and Jake from behind closed doors. Travis showed up with a swollen pride and a quieter voice. Lauren had read him the riot act and taken his keys for a night. Then my phone lit with a new message. Laura. No emoji, no preface, just a location pin, and, after a beat, a paragraph dressed as concern. You did what you had to do, she wrote. They were unhappy. I just showed them the door. I stared at the dots as she kept typing, the mask slipping one letter at a time. Men always leave first, she added. Jobs, bars, new families. I'm just evening the score. I told her to stop contacting me. She sent one last line, the kind that explains everything and excuses nothing. No one leaves me behind again. The pin kept blinking on my screen, lonely and bright. For the first time, I didn't see a puppeteer. I saw a woman building a fire to stay warm and burning every bridge to feed it. The weeks after court settled like dust after a harvest. Jake sat on my tailgate and talked about trying, counseling, curfews, consequences, a marriage on probation with a kid stuck between hope and history. Marcus shook his head and said, "Clean cuts heal straighter than jagged ones." I listened and felt the answer arrive without drama. I can be decent without staying married to what broke me. That night, my daughter brushed her teeth and lined up plastic animals on the sink. "Are we okay?" she asked, because kids read rooms better than adults. I knelt so we were eye to eye. "Yeah, baby, we're more than okay." I told her some grown-ups make choices that hurt, and when that happens, other grown-ups make choices that protect. We walked to her room. She climbed into bed and scooted over like she always does. I tucked the blanket under her chin and kept my voice steady. "Daddy's staying. You're safe with me." Her hand found mine in the dark. Somewhere across town, adults were arguing about forgiveness like it was a coupon you clip and hand out. I chose something simpler. Peace in a small room, a lamp turned low, the sound of my kid falling asleep in a house that still feels like home. We met in a quiet room at the mediator's office. 4 chairs, 2 pens, 1 life split down the middle. The agreement read like plain weather. No public trashing, no veiled posts, no whisper campaigns. Child support set, expenses shared, a calendar that put our daughter first, Mondays and Tuesdays with me, Wednesdays with her, alternating weekends, holidays spelled out so no one weaponizes Christmas. Boundaries in black ink. No late night drops, no surprise visits, no partners introduced without permission. We signed where adults sign when the fairy tale is over and the house still needs a roof. Emily's hand shook on her last initial. Mine didn't. I kept my voice level, eyes steady, heart pointed at one thing: stability. I said we would communicate only about our daughter. I said we'd keep it off social media and out of mouths that don't feed her. She nodded, then searched my face for the man who used to fix everything. He wasn't there. When we stood, she reached as if to hug history. I stepped back, polite, final. "This is for her," I said. "Not for you, not for me." At the door, I gave the only warning I'll ever give. You don't mess with another man's home, ever again. I walked out lighter, not happier, just right. The garage door rolled up to the pale blue of early morning. Dust hung in the beam of a shop light. The smell of coffee beat the chill. Jake pulled in, Marcus after him. We didn't need words to mark the moment. We'd all been to court, to counseling, to hell and back. We stood around the old workbench where we once mapped betrayal and turned it into a table for rebuilding. We shook hands, firm, grateful, no drama. We swapped routes for what comes next. Custody exchanges that don't turn into scenes, scripts for nosy coworkers, language for kids' questions that won't bruise them later. We saved each other's schedules and set a standing rule. If a man texts, "Need you?" we answer, day or night. Numbers pinned on our phones like lifelines: lawyer, counselor, school office, one another. Marcus said, "We don't keep score, we keep watch." Jake slid a spare car seat my way, just in case. I handed them both copies of the agreement so they could spot any trap I miss. We're done with secrets. We're done bleeding alone. I looked at the men who showed up when the floor dropped and felt the ground return. We started as victims. We leave as brothers. Here's what I learned the hard way. Life isn't the wedding photo. It's the school pickup line, the fever at 2 a.m., the lock you check twice because a kid sleeps down the hall. Love isn't flowers after a fight. It's showing up every single day, feeding, listening, keeping the roof steady when the wind kicks. Honor isn't a speech. It's your name, clean enough that your daughter can wear it without flinching. And girls' trips sold as freedom? If the rules vanish and the phone's face down, that's not freedom. That's a plan. Respect the truth, even when it cracks you. It's the only thing strong enough to build on. I didn't win by yelling. I won by documenting, by staying boring in court and relentless at home. I didn't save a marriage. I saved a childhood. I chose peace over performance. I chose the long road over the loud one. If you're standing where I stood, tired, humiliated, half on fire, hear me plain. Protect your kid, protect your name, protect your sanity. Speak once, with facts, then live it. I took my name back. Now what about you? Drop your story in the comments, hit subscribe, and stick with us. Choose, keep swallowing lies, or take back what's yours.